I'm having a bit of a Harry Styles problem. By Harry Styles problem, I mean that interview. Now here's the thing. I'm a hardcore Louis and Harry shipper. I'm not going to say Larry Styleton because I've said it before and I'll say it again. I think it's a stupid name. I'm sorry. But I'm having a serious problem because I'm torn. I'm torn between a number of things right now. Torn right down the middle.
Nothing's fine, I'm torn. I'm more like
Anyway, I'm not gonna lie to you. This is going to be an analysis of the interview, and you all know what interview I'm talking about. It's gonna be an analysis of that video through the eyes of someone who genuinely believes they are together. But I'd like to think that since I've acknowledged that, we could set that aside for a minute and just listen to what I've got to say, what I think I've looked at from watching this video from the perspective of someone who wants to analyze behavior for the rest of her life, because that's what I want to do, that's what I want to go to school for. And I know there's going to be a couple of you that are like, you don't have the rights to make these claims. I know I don't. I have no rights. I've got a little basis behind me, but I'm not properly educated, so take everything I'm saying with the biggest grain of salt you wish. Like, it could be a grain that's big. That's a really big grain. And let's get on with the show now, shall we? Now before we get into this, I want to talk about these things called micro-expressions, okay? Micro-expressions, the basic definition I've gotten from everywhere I've looked up, are brief, involuntary facial expressions shown on the faces of humans according to the emotions they are experiencing. Really, really brief, that's why they're called micro-expressions. They last for 1/25th to 1/15th of a second. That is like really fast, okay? Initially there were thought to be 7 basic micro-expressions: disgust, anger, fear, happiness, sadness, surprise, and contempt. But in 1990, Paul Ekman sort of expanded this to include amusement, embarrassment, guilt, pride, relief, satisfaction, pleasure, and shame, okay? These are things that everyone has on their faces and not everyone can see them. That's not a not everyone can see them thing, that's a not everyone realizes that they are seeing them. It's not some special gift, it's just whether you're looking. Oftentimes I've found, this is my own personal thoughts and experiences, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and I do apologize, but what I found is a lot of times if I come away from a conversation or an exchange with another person feeling like someone's reaction wasn't quite right, but I can't put my finger on it, there was a micro-expression there. They were like hiding something or not being 100% about something, and I missed it, but I recognized it. A lot of times if you feel like that about things, especially if you take a lot of time paying attention to conversation, you notice it. It's there. And once you realize it's there and you start studying it, like I have for forever, by forever I mean like 4 years, then you know, and then you sort of know what to do with it. I've sort of put it to use in different things. I do this a lot when I'm trying to get into character for a show I'm in, or put myself in the shoes of someone I'm trying to write a song from the perspective of. I take videos of them, right? And I slow them down to half speed, and I look. And I just watch their face and watch how it moves and see if I could pick up anything I wouldn't have the first time around. Everything's easier to see when it's slower. So imagine my surprise when I come on Tumblr and see the world's freaking out over this interview, and I think, this would be a really good time to maybe put that to use. What do? I download the video and play it at half speed, and let me tell you, once again, seeing this through shipper goggles, which is such a weird phrase if you think about it, but seeing it through that, but also trying to put that aside and seeing it through the perspective of someone who studies behavior and human things, I found some interesting things. Nothing big, nothing revealing, nothing crazy, but a couple things I think are strange, and I just need to get them out of my head because these expressions, these faces, these ideas have been bouncing around my head for the past 2 days, and I need to get them out somewhere, so the internet seems like the best place to do that. Also, before I properly begin with this, I'm putting in a disclaimer. I'm not making any attempt to talk about anyone's sexuality, though it may seem that way, but I'm not saying I know what you are, because that's stupid, because sometimes people don't know what they are and sometimes people don't care what they are, and it's not anyone else's right to tell them that. The second thing I want to say is I'm not going to talk about the girlfriends. So I'm not going to talk about that. I'm just going to talk about what I've seen between Louis and Harry in this video. Okay, good. Okay, starting with the top of the interview, when my attention was still focused on Louis. I've got clips that are going to come in right about now, and there should be some pictures here and there. You'll see how it goes. Louis looks fine. He looks happy. I wouldn't say happy. I'd say he looks content, and you know, he looks a little tired. He looks happy and he's content. And now we're going to switch to the bigger picture. Body position and body posture and body language all have severe things to do with being able to tell when they have a relationship of any sort with another person. Body language is a huge thing. Mirroring is this thing that people who are very comfortable with each other do. It's a subconscious thing where you see it in couples who have been together for forever or best friends. They mirror each other. Their hands stay the same way. Their hips, they shift in the direction of the other person. They mirror each other, that's what I'm trying to get at. It's literally what it sounds like. They are like mirror reflections of each other, okay? Look at Harry and Louis right here. Look at their hands. Look at their posture. They're in each other's space just a little bit. Their hands are both stretched out. And even now, when Harry shifts, Louis, seconds later, shifts to the position Harry was in even after he shifted back. And then bam, they're both in the same position again. I'm not saying that means they're in a relationship or they're fucking. I'm saying that means they've got some sort of relationship, no matter how contrite it might seem at times to some people. It's immediately evident that they're mirroring each other when the other three aren't. It's almost divided. That's one thing that bothers me about the setup of this video. It looks like some sort of division's already been put in place. Harry and Louis on one side, Zayn, Niall, and Liam on the other. It looks staged in a way that I can't place, and I don't know why, and that's bothering me, but whatever. But no matter how much it looks like a divider, it's not. The whole band's interacting with each other, and it's great, and everyone seems to be on this equal footing for 19 minutes into the interview, okay? And then, when the questions come about Louis and Harry, things shift. Things shift in a way, and I know it's because the attention's focused on the two of them rather than the whole group. But this has happened in a lot of this interview. The attention's been focused on one person, different parts, like Liam's been talking a lot, Niall's been talking a lot, but there's never been this shift where they all turn to look at each other. They've all kept some sort of angle at either the camera or the interviewer, but there's never been a division between the band and the interviewer and the camera and the things that they know they're supposed to be doing. The minute they ask about Louis and Harry, there is this shift. Zayn leans all the way in and shifts his entire hip. He moves his hips and just faces Louis. Not even so much Harry, who's right next to him. He faces Louis and asks, yeah, that's a good question. No, it's not, Zayn, but whatever. Then the other three shift. Niall actually has been kind of laid back this whole interview because he's the one closest to the interviewer. He's making sure she can see the whole band. He leans forward and just, there's this cutoff. There's this immediate cutoff from an objective perspective, and someone who studies film too. This is someone who studied film and human behavior, so couple those two together, see what we got. You're thrown out of it for a minute. There is no longer this connection between you and the interviewer and therefore the band. You're thrown out of it because all of a sudden it's only about the three of them looking out for the two of them. The minute the question comes, Harry shuts down. Harry, you don't notice it when you're watching it at full speed. There's this second right here where Harry just looks like he doesn't know what to do. He does not know what to say. And he looks confused. Not confused in a what? Confused in a I'm frozen and don't really know what to say here. Any trace of a smile that had been there for half a second before completely wiped off. And I'm not in Harry's head. There's a number of reasons why he could be confused. He can be confused because maybe he and Louis do have something and he doesn't know what to say, or because he doesn't know why this question was let through because they normally get the same questions every time. That leads me to my next point. One thing, this is a verbal thing. A thing you do when you look for lying after a series of questions, okay, is you look for differentiations between normal speech patterns, normal terms of phrase, etc., etc. Just minutes before in this interview, you hear Liam, I think it is, say, yeah, no, we don't like saying the same things over and over with the same questions over and over. We have a laugh out of it, switch things up a bit. And then Louis repeats exactly the same thing he was when he was questioned in the Dallas interview. Now, is it the Dallas interview? I think it's in Dallas. Yes, it was. People genuinely think, I'm not saying that I know what it means, but I'm saying it's weird and I'm calling attention to it because you hear the boys all say different stories and things, and some of the phrases repeat themselves and they explain the same things over and over again, but you don't hear exact wording repeated, especially when it's something that you're not really asked a lot. It strikes me as weird, and I'm not saying it strikes me like I immediately know the answers to whatever questions are about these two. I don't. But it's weird and I'm just voicing it. Another thing that could be, but I really don't know what it is because I don't have enough experience in the field. I'll come right out and say it, I don't. But one thing is, it seems like the minute they start talking about this, Harry and Louis stop mirroring each other, but then the other boys start mirroring Harry. My own speculations for this is that they know Harry feels beat up for whatever reason. I'm going to stop speculating there. For whatever reason, he feels really uncomfortable about the situation, which is, uncomfortable is not the word I like to use because Louis comes across as uncomfortable when these questions happen. Uncomfortable isn't the word I would use with Harry. It would be like dejected or shut down or something, but like Zayn and Niall start mirroring Harry like to the T. This is strictly from a body language point of view. You could see it here. They're mirroring Harry, and Louis not anymore, but the split between Louis and Harry is the big thing that I'm focusing on here. They're split, and then Zayn and Niall's immediate pickup. It's been pointed out a bunch of times on Tumblr whenever it looks like Harry's sad because of Louis or something with Louis or whatever it looks like. I'm not saying he is. Looks like Zayn and Niall are right there like hugging him. This is just something I've noticed, a consistency that I've noticed that I'm bringing attention to. Second to last point I've got to make. When Louis goes to put his arm around Harry, Harry physically moves away from his touch. Moves away, and then Louis doesn't keep it there for long. Normally they just leave their arm there. Harry is stiff and not reciprocating. Even when he goes to be like, yeah, no, I touched Louis like this, and that picture would be on Twitter. He's not. That is nowhere near their normal amount of like casual interaction. It's forced, but what actually like physically hurt me in the stomach was Harry just not reciprocating. Harry physically, you see him when it's sped up too, but when it's slowed down you see more, he physically moves away when Louis puts his arm around him. And that hurts a little bit because all relationships aside, if it's a friendship that's like struggling like that, if their friendship is as good as it looks, that hurts. Oh, that hits me right there, right in like the sternum. That hurts a little bit. Oh, I can't talk about this for too long, but just that's a thing that I noticed. Whew. And while the focus of this has been on Harry, I'm calling the attention back to Louis for one final thing. Towards the end of the interview, he seems to be perking up a bit, but he's not happy. His smile is gone. He smiles a couple times, and there's this thing, the FACS, it's called the FACS, and it's a facial monitoring sort of system of scoring where it's like they teach people how to read facial expressions. And one of the most commonly used examples is a smile. A smile that's fake or not enthusiastic, it affects the zygomatic area only. It's like, like you're right here, like your cheekbones just kind of go, wow. A real smile is like up here, it affects the orbicularis den something up here. And Louis smiles loads, but his eyes don't crinkle up like they usually do. He doesn't look happy anymore. He looked happy in the beginning. He looked content in the beginning. Now he just looks not. There's something that's shifted, whether he's alone in his thoughts, or he's upset about the question being asked, or he's annoyed about the question being asked, or he's worried about Harry or something. There's just a shift there. And I'm calling attention to all of these things, not for any particular reason, just for these are things that a lot of people don't notice and I couldn't accurately explain in a text post or something, and I needed to get it out. So when you're watching things from now on, if you just look at things, you notice things, and maybe one day we'll piece this puzzle together and I'll stop trying to feel like a spy, because I feel like a spy right now. And I could pretend to feel bad about that, but I feel pretty badass, so I'm not going to.
Though I saw a girl brought to life, she was warm, she came around, she was dignified. She showed me